Hello, and welcome to Wine Grants, unscripted chat about the Unfunded, the official podcast of the Unfunded List. I'm Dave Moss from the Moss Family Foundation and founder of the list, and the host of this podcast. I'm sitting in a booth right now, and with me in that booth is Alex Dickinson from the Awesome Foundation. Say hello, Alex.
Hey, hi, Dave.
Thank you for coming. I have found your bio online. And as is my habit, I'm going to start off the podcast by reading it. Our guests at home will be happy to know that your bio is a little bit shorter than most. So perhaps we will have some folks who actually listen to the entirety of this episode. Alex is a social media strategist and digital advocacy tactician who helps to build the hive and manage the buzz at Beekeeper Group. Let's see what you did there.
Yeah.
In 2014, Alex was recognized as an emerging leader by Washington Women in Public Relations. Since starting at Beekeeper Group in 2012, Alex has provided strategic support and content guidance to a wide variety of clients, including nonprofits, trade associations, and Fortune 500 companies. In her non-beekeeping time, she works with the Awesome Foundation, a micro-philanthropy organization, and she reads a lot of history books.
True story.
Great. Welcome to the booth, Alex.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. This is a nice and pithy bio, but it also is one that gave me, a sense of who you are and what you do, and what you do it for, and what some of your interests are. That's a good job.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't need a lot of...
That's what social media is all about, right? Like getting it concise, getting it short.
One of my favorite quotes, Mark Twain, they asked him something about his editing process, and he said, well, I would have made the book shorter if I had more time.
Yeah, definitely. I like Hemingway on that when he's talking about, just drinking all the whiskey and then doing all the editing afterwards.
Yes. And he would write, his sentences did not have a lot of extraneous words.
No, yeah.
And probably the word extraneous doesn't show up in any of Hemingway's books.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a paper in high school about Hemingway's use of the word it, and how he could make the word it mean a lot more than other authors could.
Absolutely.
And that he used it, really deliberately and strategically, as it, in a way that, the audience wouldn't necessarily know what it was.
Yeah.
It left you to fill in the blanks. And I remember I got an F on the paper. Because
No way.
Mr. Parsons is a particularly unenlightened English teacher at Loomis Chaffee High School. He's still teaching there, in Windsor, Connecticut. You should not send your kids there.
Wow.
Close-minded, Mr. Parsons. You should have known better. I now often get paid to write things for a living. Mr. Parsons does not. So he can take his degree from Middlebury and enjoy his time living in the dorms with the boys.
Indeed. Indeed.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't listen to the podcast, so I think we're fine.
Yeah.
He was not that bad. I had worse teachers.
No, that's fair.
There's a few things in your bio, though, I would like to talk to you about.
Absolutely.
I happen to know how old you are. You told me before
Yes.
the podcast. I won't out you on the air. But this says in 2014, you were recognized as an emerging leader by Washington Women in Public Relations. 2014 was not that long ago. I happen to know, because I know how old you were, that you were a full-grown adult in 2014. What did you do? What was your job in 2014?
I was still working at Beekeeper Group, still not actually tending live bees, but metaphorical bees, or your supporters who are out there trying to not let you get stung. I can really go all day with bee puns, but I won't. So was working there, and I guess...
I want to point out, your decision to not do the bee puns, that's you.
Yeah.
I am not encouraging.
No, that's true.
I'm saying
Yeah.
Please bring all the bee puns that we can stand.
I will...
Which is a lot.
I'll
We have
keep
a high
that in mind.
tolerance here in the booth for bee puns.
Although, I mean, I don't know if you're allergic or anything, but EpiPen's got a little more expensive recently, so...
It's true.
So then I was working at Beekeeper Group, was also doing Awesome Foundation stuff then, and was transitioning from a more client management role to a dual role of staff development and client management at that time. So I guess that meant that I'm emerging into the world of awesome leadership.
It sounds to me like you were doing awesome leadership. The word emerging is what's confusing to me about this.
Yeah.
Have you since emerged? Have you finished?
I think I have emerged. I think I'm the butterfly now, out of the chrysalis.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And so you're no longer with the beekeepers?
No, I am. I am
You
still
are?
there. Yep.
And what has your role advanced since you finished emerging?
Yes, definitely. The company has grown. I started off as the 10th employee, and now I am one of like almost 30 employees, and I help to really develop those staff. I'm the chief of staff
Can
now.
I talk about Chief of
Please.
Staff?
Yeah, it's a pretty swanky title.
Well, certainly, Chief of Staff means that you've emerged.
Yes,
You can't be emerging and also the Chief of Staff.
it's true. It's true.
I was one time I was the Chief of Staff at a consulting firm, and they just said, they were like, you can pick whatever title you want.
Yeah. Yep.
And I said Chief of Staff. West Wing was on television back then. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I'll be the chief of, because it was also really useful because people responded to my emails much more than if I was like someone's executive assistant.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really or office manager. That's really what I was. I mean, I was the only staff, so I was the chief.
Yeah. Well, that works. That counts. Definitely.
Very cool. Now, I originally had reached out. The beekeeper stuff's very interesting, and bees are very important. And there is that issue with EpiPens, and that's it affects actually a lot. I worked at a school. I've had to administer an EpiPen to kids a couple times.
Yeah.
Twice, both to Shiloh. He was allergic to everything.
Poor Shiloh.
And he would puff right up, and then if you gave him the EpiPen, it's not instant.
Man.
Never like it's a really miraculous device that saves lives.
Yeah. Modern technology.
It's, not all that modern.
Yeah,
Been
I guess
around
not,
for-
yeah.
This was a long time ago. I
Yeah.
gave those injections to Shiloh. This was my first job out of college. This
Wow,
was like
nice.
15 years ago, I was giving EpiPen injections.
Yeah.
I don't know what we were paying for his EpiPen, but I know. And growing up in Maine, we do have a lot of bees. A lot of my friends were wearing one around their neck all the time. I got stung a lot growing up.
Wow.
I played in the woods a lot.
Yeah.
Thank God I'd be long dead.
Yeah.
If I was like, I got 20, 25 stings once when I stepped on a nest.
Oh.
It was actually pretty funny. I stepped on the nest. They all jumped up and started biting me. And I was standing on a cliff face next to a swimming hole. So I just yelled bees and jumped. And the bees followed me. I remember in the
they were
air,
mad, probably.
still getting stung as I fell down into the. But once I got into the water, then
Oof.
I had freed myself. That's what you should run into the water and jump in.
Yeah.
It's the general Maine approach to bees.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't actually thought about that. I've only ever had like 2 real like negative encounters with bees in real life. One, a bee crawled up my nose when I was in elementary school.
Ooh.
Didn't get too far up there, thank God.
Yes.
But so that
Was it removed?
it came out after a while, but
Okay.
there was like so
It's not still up there.
Thank goodness, no. But
If you eat
maybe.
a fig, you're almost certainly eating at least one bee.
Really?
The
did not know that.
in the process of fertilizing figs, the bees do that, and usually for most figs that become ripened enough to become fruit that we eat, it's because a female got in there and couldn't get out. And
Wow.
it's not like there's not pieces of bees. The enzymes break it down. It just tastes like fig, but there was a whole bee in there.
Huh.
And you probably swallow some in your sleep too.
I need a more you know rainbow right now.
We can put that in later. But the reason we had you by is the Awesome Foundation.
Indeed.
I have heard about it a few times and never been much involved with it myself. But I'll say, I used to give a satirical presentation about my own foundation. I made up our history, and I used it as a way to sort of, satirically criticize foundation work.
Yeah.
And I remember when I did that, someone in the audience who I never actually met the person, but there was a lot of people there to see the first time I did it. It's a big conference I did this at, and we went out and they just thought I was giving a presentation on my foundation. No one knew that it was all like a joke. And someone tweeted to I think his name's Tim.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's great.
Hey Tim, you should check this out. This guy seems right up your alley. And then someone tweeted me, I should check out the Awesome Foundation. That was, I don't know, 2011 or something.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately I never met Tim or spoke to him or anything.
He's a really, really lovely
but
guy.
he got tweeted at about me once several years ago.
Well, I'm sure I'll pass this along to Tim.
So now I assume he'll listen.
He'll listen. Yeah. Hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim. It's nice to finally meet you. If you check your Twitter backlog, you'll find me in there somewhere. So why don't you tell me what the Awesome Foundation is?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are, well, first off, on sort of the irreverence, like it's sort of like a group of irreverently kind people, I would say. So sounding similar to what you were describing.
I am wildly irreverent. Yeah.
But with the intent of really trying to forward awesome in the universe. So we are a loosely affiliated group of kind of do-gooders or people who appreciate awesome in the universe. There are 85 chapters currently in 19 countries. First one started by Tim, I think 2009 in Boston, and it's expanded. DC was a couple, probably like in the first 10 of the chapters. Started in 2011, so I've been working with the DC chapter of the Awesome Foundation since 2013. What we do is every month we get a group of people together, each person gives $100, and we give that money to somebody, no strings attached. They apply by answering a few very, very simple questions, and we evaluate them on 4 very simple criteria.
What are those? How do you evaluate them? Tell me more about that.
So the criteria are: is it awesome?
What does awesome mean?
Awesome means different things to different people. So it all depends on...
I, for instance, am fairly familiar with the Bible. And it means quite a bit, I don't know, maybe you're talking about that.
No, it's not entirely... Well, some people I think do take it that way. We actually have one trustee right now.
You seem to be implying that it means good.
I think it means good, yes. Although there is a debate between, is it good or is it weird? Is it like the people who are sort of different, who might not necessarily be getting the type of traditional funding that you might get from another foundation or something.
Oh.
So there's a couple different sides of it, right? So awesome can mean what you define it as, or how you see the vision of a positive future to be. Those were kind of words. So is it awesome is the first criteria. Then will it make DC more awesome? So again, applying that same level of self-definition of Awesome Foundation, or whatever awesome is, to DC. There are chapters close by. There's one in Northern Virginia. There's one in Baltimore. One in West Virginia now.
How many total chapters?
85 total chapters across the world, though. I don't know how many are in the United States. There's a bunch in Canada as well. So...
What is let's say there's someone out there who lives in a community that does not have an Awesome Foundation, and they want one there.
Well,
is there perhaps something that they can do?
Yeah, it's very, very easy. Relatively easy, assuming that you have 10 people who you can get in touch with. You just have to...
You need 10.
Yeah, we're trying to give $1,000, although...
That's the grant size?
Yes. Grant size typically should be $1,000, but there's really no rules. This is like a very loosely affiliated, pretty much rule-free group. So it can be $1,000. In some groups, they might not be able to get $1,000, so they'll give $800. DC really tries to keep it at $1,000, or in the past we've given grants to 2 $500 grants.
I generally find it weird that when a funder decides how much their grants are before they decide where they're going.
Yeah.
How could you know what? It doesn't make any sense.
So
sit there and have your pile of money.
Yeah.
And look at everything and see what the need is, and give appropriately based on that.
Yeah, I think that's like very, very in line with the traditional level of...
we give 50, we give...
Yeah.
Why? Why do you do...
So, I think $1,000 is just easy because it's like, we're trying to get 10 people together at least. And
I think less than that, and
it doesn't make as much of an
that's
impact.
A good... There is no nonprofit that doesn't notice receiving at that. Well, maybe Red Cross doesn't particularly notice, but I doubt that you're giving grants to Red Cross.
Yeah, no,
or any organization that anywhere near that size.
No, and actually that was one of the big deciding factors from this most recent funding round, which was on Monday evening, where there were 2 groups.
I had meant to attend and was unable to.
Well, we will invite you to
Apologize.
the next one.
I was going to be Amy's proxy.
Yes.
And then I couldn't make it.
No worries. No worries. It was a good.
I hope that it went well.
It did. It was a very robust discussion.
There's a lot of organizations.
Yes.
I read through most of the stuff. I got to learn about some new groups.
Yeah, definitely. So the winner ended up being the National Hand Dance Association, which I'm very, very excited that they won because they have applied
Are you
so
a
many
hand
times.
dancer?
I am not, but I have seen a hand dance demo, and it was really very
Cool.
exciting. Yeah.
Do you often support the arts?
So there's two different types of grants that we give typically. It's orphans or flamethrowers. Orphans, that's sort of a glib way of saying it can be like the do good, the actual like
Sure.
whatever. Flamethrowers,
Actually, that's kind of interesting.
yeah.
There is a sort of, so there are, I think one of the problems in philanthropy is that we do have a lack of descriptors sometime. So like I'll say, I usually try to differentiate between charity and philanthropy.
Yeah.
I think you're saying, when you're saying orphans, you're saying charity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is just, here I am with my pile of money and you clearly need money. Have some.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate. And the flamethrowers are going to be your more off the wall, your crazy like reenactments of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom type of things. So.
Was that in? I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, so that was not this time. That was a couple years ago. A woman named Lauren Ellen McCann did a really awesome. She got a big orb and got an alley over by 14th Street Northwest here in DC, and I'm pointing, generally.
We're in a nebulous booth. It's
Yeah,
kinda hard to
exactly.
tell. I used to play in the woods a lot, so I always know where north is.
That's very smart. That's great. It's a skill that I've always wanted to have. North is that way. All right, got it. Sorry, people who can't see where north is.
Yeah, but they can. I'm right. I assure you.
So she got rented or secured an alley and then a bunch of props and had people pretend that they were being chased by a giant boulder. It was great.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Some of the folks here at the Lookout were involved in it. There's a thing, I think it's happened a few times at Howard, called Point Break Live.
Whoa, I haven't heard of this.
It's a live staged production of Point Break.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, one of our resident graphic artists, Steve Mercado, I think he played Bodhi.
They really should apply for a grant.
Actually, Steve upstairs, you just saw him. I think he does the music for it or something.
That's amazing.
No, it's really neat. And I actually had an idea. One of my heroes as an actor is Gene Wilder, who passed away this week.
Yeah, rest in peace.
The first play I was ever in was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Nice.
I played Charlie. This was in junior high school or whatever, but obviously I watched that and it was amazing. And I think so it's really interesting when years later they played it again with Johnny Depp, who is in a lot of ways has more range and more depth of talent than Gene Wilder, but also just so much more ego. And I think there's very few. I don't talk about acting very much here in the booth. It's not the topic of the podcast. But Gene Wilder passed away this week, and he was a very philanthropic man, so somewhat in line with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And this is not to disparage Johnny Depp at all, but when Johnny Depp does a movie, he's the star of the movie.
Yeah.
And he'll be in the first scene and the last scene. In fact, Michael Caine has a really famous quote. That's how he decides if he's going to take a part or not.
Yeah, yeah.
He reads the first page and the last page, and if he's in both, he does the movie. And that's your as actors choose to be leading men sometimes. That was as an actor, is actually not something I'm interested in. I find leading men roles to be somewhat boring. A role like Willy Wonka, though, is beautiful in a lot of ways. And one of the main ways is that he's not the star. He's in some ways the star. He's the most important character. Yeah. This universe doesn't exist without him.
Yeah.
But he lets he lets the story get told. He doesn't have to be the one moving it forward at all times. In the remake with Johnny Depp, it was we have to tell his backstory. It's going to be about him and not about Charlie and his story.
Well,
right?
That's
great. Why it's good. They're both good versions. But the one with Johnny Depp is not the one that's going to go down in the annals of history as a classic film that we watch with our kids 20 years from now, right?
Totally.
And also it was a musical, which that helps.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And I will not sing. I can sing all the songs from that, and I will not. I will. I will spare you now.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think thank you. I don't know.
I can.
If you can carry a tune, you can go for it.
I sing pretty good. And actually, that stuff's written. It's all written in my range pretty well. So it actually would be. I've never played Willy Wonka, but that would be like.
Yeah.
That would be the sort of thing I would want to do, and I would want to even be like a step back more and let the like. He's the one who brings all these. And he got to wear his purple suit.
Yeah.
I watched the movie the other day. It's a lot of him just sort of. He's not doing. He's there.
Yeah.
And moving. And he's just incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have an idea to do. And you can tell me if you think this is something that Awesome Foundation might be interested in. Mm-hmm. That other favorite film of mine is Blazing Saddles.
Oh yeah. I
think one of the best comedic scenes between two comedic actors, and not in a ha-ha way, just a this is hilarious way, is when the Waco Kid and the sheriff have their first conversation, mm-hmm. and they play the chess, and he I want to do. I need to find an actor to play the sheriff, but I want to just do that scene live, like upstairs on the stage somewhere.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The Waco Kid live or whatever.
So
and I need to do it. That's something we would have to do like soon because while he's still. And I think a lot of people feel probably the same way about him as.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just a really fascinating icon for people.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Well, I find it interesting that you guys do. So there has been a decent amount written.
Oh sure.
This is great.
3. Yikes.
She's getting her second refill.
Sorry, guys.
Most of the ladies only have, especially for an afternoon recording.
The best part is
this is great.
I'm going to a wine tasting after this too.
And I don't feel like a schmuck for drinking the whole bottle. It's happened before where I just sat here drinking with the guests. So a couple of the guests didn't actually drink any wine.
Really?
Won't say who. Right? We just sort of fake it.
Well, now I'm going to listen to all of it.
It.
Yeah.
And so there's a few episodes where and it's you can actually probably tell if you listen all the way to the end of those episodes, because my guest will be lucid and trying to make points about their organization. And,
yeah.
And then there's also the one time that we drank whiskey instead of wine.
Oh man.
Which I highly recommend listening to that episode.
Yeah.
Daniel Carpenshoff and I, Lord Daniel Carpenshoff.
Wow.
Of Glencoe. He wanted whiskey, and when Lord Daniel requests whiskey.
Yeah, if you have a title like that, you get what you want, I think, at all times.
He's the only Jewish Scottish lord.
Wow.
So you're in fancy company.
I know, yeah. I need another. The more
I didn't
you know.
realize you were what you were stepping into. But there's been, and we've talked about it in the booth a lot of times, that and it's true on a statistical level, is that arts philanthropy is teetering off, and in particular, young philanthropists sometimes have very negative opinions about donating to artistic institutions.
Yeah.
And while I can say, like, I have a similar, the Moss Foundation does not give money as a policy to anyone who has more money than we do, which I think every foundation should think about instituting. Yeah. I don't know why anyone would donate to Harvard. They in fact raise more money than almost everybody else. It's really like we got to stop doing that stuff. They don't need any philanthropy dollars.
Yeah.
If you're sitting at home thinking about donating to Harvard, you may have a worthwhile reason for wanting to do so. You're giving money to someone who has $40 billion in the bank. You should light your money on fire. It would be better.
Yeah.
It would possibly create some warmth.
Yeah.
For someone who was
flamethrowers. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So for instance, I wouldn't donate to the Kennedy Center, even though I like to frequent it. I will pay for my ticket.
Yeah.
When I go to the Kennedy Center, and I think what they charge is fair sometimes. Better than trying to see a Broadway show, for sure.
Definitely.
Or like any of the major theaters or large institutions. But it sounds to me like you found a way to support arts in a way that does appeal to a younger philanthropist.
Yeah.
And I think that's neat. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just because we keep it so open-ended. So when you define something as awesome, I think art often falls into that awesome category. If it is inspiring awe, that's
the art that I try to make. I hope for it to be awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's something that, especially for artists who might not have really established connections in the city, I think we do a really, really good job of giving them the type of support that they need.
Mm-hmm. And for $1,000 to Kennedy Center,
It's nothing.
you don't even get your name on any of the plaques.
No,
They got so many plaques over there, you don't get your name. Don't get your name on there.
We had a really great
But for I could do my Gene Wilder Waco Kid project. I probably don't need $1,000.
Yeah.
And I could, I can have a stage already. Like that's a real art. I can't do it I need a reason to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's great, I think, about your model is that that can lead to other stuff for them.
Absolutely.
We got an awesome foundation grant.
Yeah.
And you got a group. It's not just one person who gave it. It's a group of people who are now more aware of the project, might actually go frequent the art, be a patron of it. That's very interesting.
Yep. Actually, there's a great example of that recently with, going back to sort of like irreverent kindness and that idea, we also have funny titles for ourselves. So I'm Dean of Awesome Foundation.
I noticed.
Co-Dean, not the drug.
And you believe that that's funny?
Well, it's sort of satirical. I think I think it's satirical. We also have, like, our treasurer is called the chairperson of economic studies, things along those lines. We really try and play on.
I am the acting, temporary, indefinite executive director of the
Yes.
Moss Family Foundation.
Precisely. Yes. That's
Again,
fabulous.
that is they let me choose my own title situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at home and you're thinking about hiring me at some point in the future, don't let me pick my own title. I'm gonna pick something ridiculous. And I'm very good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a member here at the Lookout who has a separate company, actually not related to the Lookout, but his role there is that he is the chief evangelist.
Ooh.
Which I don't know. Don't ooh that. Doesn't deserve your support.
No, I appreciate that.
Chief
kind
marketing
of,
officer is a thing that we know what it is. We didn't need to
Yeah.
call that something else. He's not evangelizing has a very specific meaning.
Well,
It involves God,
No.
and his company does not.
I think I like the idea of, like, brand evangelists. Like, I know Bojangles has brand evangelists and things
That's
like
not
that.
what evangelism is.
It's not precisely what
Your
it is.
brand and like a large spiritual movement are not the same. No, I don't care how big your brand is.
Yeah. Yes.
Those are not the same thing. And I don't care how connected you are to your like Lululemon gear or whatever it is. Right? You're not. I tried to pick something you're not that I think you're not wearing.
No, I'm not wearing it. I don't think I've ever even walked into a Lululemon.
I don't think that I have either. But
Yeah.
like that's that. And I think those brands would love to be like new. We're the new brands of the new churches.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not. That is not community. That is commerce. And there's nothing wrong with commerce, but I don't like it when people pretend to be things that they aren't.
Yeah.
Especially when if you have more money than the person you're pretending to be. That's
Yeah.
very, very untoward, and I don't like it. So like one of my favorite brands is Adidas, and they don't go around. And I think there's probably some people who enjoy Adidas who like think about it like a cult.
Yeah.
But like I don't see the company doing that. Whereas Apple,
Oh yeah, it's a little culty.
I mean, they do things that are like they make you come and listen to them talk about what. No, you put your products in a catalog. I can read about it. Like everybody, you're not. It's not. This isn't a movement. It's not church.
Mm-hmm.
Please keep I like my earbuds. I like being able to plug them into my phone. Please don't change
Oh yeah.
the audio
Yeah.
jack.
Apple, please don't do that.
I think that would be the last straw for me.
Really? Are you gonna go Galaxy?
That's just I don't. Well, the other phones have caught up, so
Yeah.
it's not like they can all do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's just a like screw you. I want to make more money. Move. I mean, they're not going to give me much of a choice if they do that.
Yeah. That's true.
And I believe that they will. They have a tendency. They've done very similar things. They want to move things forward. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll get another phone. Or maybe I'll stop having a cell phone. Who knows?
Off the grid.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
So I want to. This has been very informative.
Mm-hmm.
I like the model very much. I'd like to. I think something interesting that perhaps we could talk about outside the booth some point is if you're. I saw you got a lot of proposals. You gave $1,000 grant.
Yeah.
You had 71 proposals.
Indeed.
So you
Yeah.
said no 70 times.
Well, we said no, but you can apply again 70 times. Sometimes
Okay.
it was a really heavy month this month.
Is that a lot? Was that? I was surprised
Yeah.
to see the bulk. That seemed like a lot. So that's just for this month. So
That
you got
was-
71 in the last month
Yeah.
for $1,000 grant.
For a $1,000 grant. Yeah. challenge
Yikes.
was that last month we focused on only applicants who were under the age of 18.
Interesting.
And it turned out really fabulous. We ended
cool.
up actually getting an anonymous $500 donation on top of everything. So we gave 2 grants last month, which was cool. But
I once worked for an organization most of our board was under 18.
really?
Which
Oh.
is illegal. You can't enter into an agreement if you're under 18. So.
Yeah.
And we entered into agreements with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at one point, you have to, in order to keep your C3 status, you have to have board members.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, all of our board members were under 18, which technically the IRS should have revoked it for us. But it's actually,
IRS,
I
I
know
hope you
one
work
of the things
with
I've learned is that if you got your tax status revoked,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you did. You must have tried to get it revoked.
Yeah.
You must have called the IRS and
Yeah.
told them to piss off. I don't know what, because you just break whatever rules you want.
Yeah.
If you're listening at home, that was not official tax or legal advice.
Nope.
I'm not an accountant, nor am I a lawyer. But I am never wrong.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great place to be. What was really funny about the under 18 grant was this kid.
Where did that go? Who did that go to? I'm very curious.
So he was building an anti-bullying movement. Really, really cool, really great kid. And we emailed him, which was what we do so again, it's like pretty loosely affiliated. We have this loose structure where we have systems in place, but it's kind of like ad hoc. So we email people to tell them that they get $1,000. And we actually give them the $1,000 in a brown paper bag with cash. So I emailed this kid and I'm like, hey, you won. We thought your project was really awesome. We would love to meet up with you and give you $1,000 in cash. No response. Kind of weird. A week goes by, email again, no response. We find another email, no response. I'm like, man, what happened here? I'm like, okay, I'll try calling. So I call and no response. And I talked to one of my colleagues and they're like, you are the worst millennial ever. Text him. So I texted and 2 minutes later he responded.
That's very interesting.
Then an hour later, his mom called me and was like, is this legit? Are you giving my son $1,000? It's like, yes, we are. He did awesome things. So.
That's very interesting. That reminds me a lot of my, it was the National Youth Rights Association.
Oh, awesome.
So we helped young people defend their own rights. So that's why it was important that the board be, actually, we had I'm sure, the youngest board in the country.
Yeah.
The average board member's age. I looked this up a long time ago, but so this is off of 2006 numbers or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably older now,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But would you like to take a guess? Is the average board member's age?
65?
78.
Oh, man, that's rough.
You know how old the average American is?
I don't actually.
37.
Really?
Well,
Wow.
we have one of the oldest average ages in the world.
Yeah.
Which does not, and even with that, right, still the average board member is 40 years older than the
Yeah.
average person in the country, right? And there's a lot of nonprofits that serve exclusively young people.
Yeah.
So you've got these decision makers who are sometimes several generations removed from it doesn't.
And I'm sure that's not the only identity factor that is, unique amongst them.
Oh yes. Age is by far where the biggest disequity is.
Yeah.
There are. There's definitely mostly white male board members, but
Yeah.
there are women board members, there are black board members,
Yeah.
there are Latino board members. There aren't board members under 30.
Yeah.
I know them all personally. They've
Yeah.
been in this booth. They're statistical outliers.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. People in their 20s can do a lot.
Yeah.
The idea that we don't, and none of the brightest 20-year-olds are capable of serving. And most Americans, I think that's just not something that's kind of the mother's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting to me. I was very fortunate to have extremely encouraging parents, possibly over encouraging, and she would is it legit?
Yeah.
Response well, my kid is just a kid,
Yeah.
right? How old is this young man?
I think he's 16.
16.
Yeah.
There are so many 16-year-olds that could take a $1,000 grant and do good in their communities with it, like most 16-year-olds can.
Oh, yeah.
But even his own mother's reaction is that you can't possibly be doing this.
I will say, though, yeah, she was so supportive when we finally like connected.
Right, but she lives in I don't think she's an unsupportive parent.
No,
She lives in the real world where this is the general thought we have about children's capabilities.
I think it's hard for me. I came from
who's better equipped to run an anti-bullying campaign targeting young people than a 16-year-old who
absolutely,
I assume, probably either been bullied or bullied somebody.
Yeah.
Most kids have.
Yep. Yeah, it's sort of interesting for me. I came from a really, really special school that had this humanistic philosophy. So I think I grew up not really realizing like just how weird it was to not have those opportunities or to live in that world. So I still, in a way, like hope to make that the reality for the future.
Well, that's great. I hope he works out with it. And one of the things that is true about young people. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like we give a $1,000 grant to this kid. Right? If I got a $1,000 grant from a program, from a foundation or something to do something, and I failed, that wouldn't be the end of my career. Right. I would justify it. I would explain it. Right.
Yep.
But like, if this kid's campaign doesn't really, if not much happens, then people are gonna be like, oh well, you shouldn't have given a grant to a 16-year-old.
But that's why I think it's so important that it's no strings attached for us. Like we really we'll follow up and
he should have the
supportive.
absolute freedom to fail with this.
Yeah.
One of the great things about a 16-year-old failing, he's got
Fail
a lot
fast.
more time to use the knowledge he gained by failing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. No, I mean I think it's so important.
And that's what expertise is making every possible mistake.
Yeah.
That's once you're an expert. So I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
The Awesome Foundation is awesome.
Thank you.
I would love to continue talking outside the booth because, you've got you made one awesome grant this week, but there's 70 folks that all you can really do for them is encourage them to apply again.
Yep.
That is the focus of the Unfunded list. As I want to make a secondary market for those rejected proposals, and this has been a very interesting conversation. Because you've, especially with the sourcing you're doing, right? These people have, people with an outside the box idea. They're not going to say, well, I won't, I talk to a lot of folks with outside the box ideas. They say, well, I won't apply to Ford. I'll never get funded by the Ford Foundation. They're like, well, these people are willing to fund all kinds of crazy stuff. They're going to send me, So we're looking for like really cool unfunded proposals all the time.
Awesome.
We like giving feedback to folks that have had trouble finding funding.
Yeah.
Finding funding is an extremely niche skill.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't have. It's not something that people should be expected to be able to do.
Well,
and you shouldn't need to do that in order to have social impact on the world.
Yeah, and I would add, I mean, just for some people who are applying for these grants and who are trying to go out there and make a difference, they don't hear yes very often. So it's so nice to be able to give them that first yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would counter and say that no does not have to be unproductive.
Correct.
Frank, you do no, but please apply again. We try to do no, and here's feedback on your proposal. We do. I think a lot of people tend to think no is you're being rude when you're saying no, and in fact, in some other cultures, that's even more deeply ingrained.
Yeah.
Sometimes the answer is no, and you're not doing anybody any favors by saying anything other than no when that's what the answer is. But we can give feedback. We can be open. We can think about all of the currencies that we have to give. Money is not the only thing that folks can give to a nonprofit. For me personally, I can do more for you with my Rolodex than I can with my bank account. And I run my family foundation. Yeah. And that's true for me, and it's true for Bill Gates too, because Bill Gates can write you a big grant, right? You know what else he can do? He can get Warren Buffett and Carlos Slim on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And those two people have a lot more money than he does. So, yes. And he knows, in fact, many other people with billions of dollars. I only know about a handful of them. And in fact, some of them have been in this booth. Really? But none of them were as delightful as my guests today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for stopping by.
Yeah.
As always, I want to thank our host, The Lookout DC, which is a beautiful co-working community for filmmakers located in the Adams Morgan neighborhood